Hello, my name is Stephen. Today in this video we're having a look at the Webster's Bible translation. But first of all, I want to show you an old book that I have. You might find it interesting. So what we've got is the Webster's International Dictionary. And if I just swing over here to the side of it, you can see that it is the Webster's International Dictionary with a supplement of international words and meanings. And down the bottom here, it says the Australasian edition. I'll just flip through the first few pages. As you can see, like a lot of these old books, they have books of maps. Here we have some of the great seals of the United States territories that they have in the various states and counties, etc. Arms of various nations, arms and flags of Great Britain and the colonies, flags of various nations, which I'm sure if we went through, we'd find they've changed since it was made. So on this particular page, we see that it is the Australasian edition, Webster's International Dictionary of the English Language, being the authentic edition of Webster's Unabridged Dictionary, comprising the issues of 1864, 1879 and 1894, thoroughly revised and much enlarged under the supervision of Noah Porter, with a supplement of 25,000 words and phrases from W.T. Harris. And as you can see down here, it's a 1909, which makes this book well over 100 years old. Let's just have a look at one of the dictionary pages. So here we are on page 293. But what I want you to draw attention to is over here, we think with 1909, that they would not have a word in here for computer, because computers haven't been around all that long, have they? So we have the word computer. It says one who computes. A computist is a computer. And then we go back up here. To compute is, and it gives the various Latin and verbs, etc., to determine by calculations. And so computation is an act or process of computing, calculation and reckoning. So that was a quick look at Noah Webster's massive dictionary that he has. And looking at the word compute or computer, there was a movie made recently, or a few years ago now, called Hidden Figures. And it was a story of a team of female African-American mathematicians who served a vital role in NASA during the early years of the United States space program. And because they didn't have actual electronic computers, these women who did all the calculations were called computers. So back in 1909, Noah Webster, in his dictionary, had the word computer. It's amazing, isn't it? So let's just have a look at Noah Webster's Bible. Now, back in Noah Webster's day, which was in the 1800s in America, the Bible was often used in schools as a book for reading, but often they found that the words in it were not common words that the children were used to using, and also the grammar wasn't always correct that he found, because he was an academic, he was an educator, and he wanted to be able to correct the King James Version and to make it more readable and take out some of the old expressions and some of the grammar that wasn't quite correct, and even to make some of the words not so offensive to some of the people there at the time. It's interesting, some of the modern critics these days have wondered why Webster, who was well qualified for the task, didn't do a more extensive revision of the text. For example, a guy called David Doniel observes that not only was he uniquely qualified as an authority on contemporary English usage, but he also knew Hebrew and Greek. So he could have easily done a proper translation and made it into with greater depth of translation. But instead, he focused on the grammar and the spelling and the old use of the old English words. He did not aim to make the language of the English Bible wholly contemporary, as a lot of Bibles do these days, nor did he have the kind of scholarly interest in details in the text that would have led him to make many corrections on the basis of the Hebrew and Greek. He was not really, I suppose, what you call a biblical scholar. He was an educator. He knew how to do Hebrew and Greek. He merely corrected the worst flaws of the text from the standpoint of an educator. He was a devout Christian, but also entirely orthodox in his beliefs. One of his main aims was not to create a Bible that was a reflection of doctrines of various churches, but as an abridged and a modification of the established King James Version. And so, as I mentioned earlier, he brought out the dictionary in 1828, but then he began his revision of the King James Version in 1831. And that was finally reprinted in 1887. If we have a look at this particular page called BibleResearcher.com, this is the principal alterations in the language of the common version of the scriptures that Noah Webster did. For example, he did who is substituted for which when it refers to persons. It's is substituted for his when it refers to plants and things without life. These are pretty common self-explanatory sorts of things, aren't they? He made to be used for unto. For example, this latter word is not found in the Saxon books and is never used in our present language, etc. He goes on. He uses puts in the word why instead of wherefore. For example, why do the wicked live in Job 21:7? We scroll down here, he said, he put in the word falsehood for leasing in Psalm 4:2 and 5 and 6. He put in changed cunning to be skillful when used of persons, and curious for the same word when applied to things. And he gives the various scripture reasons there. And so you can scroll all the way down here, if you want to have a look at all the different words that he changed and made more relevant to the American readers at the time. For example, killed rather than slew in Daniel 3:22. We read, the flame of the fire slew the men that threw Shadrach and his companions into the furnace. Let me read this. This use of slew is improper, so much so that the most illiterate man would perceive the impropriety of it. Slay is used to denote killing by striking with any weapon, whatever, but we never say a man is slain by poison, by drowning or by burning. This distinction proceeds from the original significance of slay, which was to strike. See Acts 13:28. And so he said, let's put in kill rather than slew. And so it's quite interesting to see his reasoning. He was a real educator in what he was doing. So it's really interesting to see some of the changes in the words that he changed, because overall he was an educator. So who was, before I go and have a look at some of the scriptures, who was this Noah Webster? If we have a look back on this particular screen again on the Bible Researcher, they did quite a good summary of him. Noah Webster, he was born in 1758, died in 1843, and has been called America's Schoolmaster by one of his biographers. And it seems a very apt title for him. He was the author of several books, widely used in schools during his days, including spelling books, grammars, histories, and his famous dictionary, an American dictionary of the English language, brought out in 1828, which I believe some people even have copies of it today. And as I said, he began his revision of the King James in 1831. Noah Webster was also a member of the Connecticut House of Representatives. He was born in Connecticut, the colony in the British America. He died in 1843, aged 84 years of age, which was a good age for those days. His political party was at the time called a Federalist. He married Rebecca Greenleaf Webster in 1789, and they had 8 children. And his occupation was called a lexicographer, author, teacher, and he was actually part of the military service branch of the Connecticut militia during the American Revolutionary War. But let's just have a look at a passage. First of all, we'll have a look at Matthew chapter 2, and we'll read it on the King James first, because that's the one that he was changing. And let's have a read of that and see how it sounds in the Webster one. So here we are in Matthew 2, King James Version. Now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had gathered all the chief priests and the scribes, the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. So let's just then slip over to the Webster's Bible translation. And he says, now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and have come to worship him. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had assembled all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, he inquired of them where Christ should be born. And they said to him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for all thus it is written by the prophet. And thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, art the least among the princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come a governor. They shall rule my people Israel. Now, as I've shown you already, it is possible to read the Webster Bible translation on BibleHub.com. But also, if you want to go to another one called BibleStudyTools.com, BibleStudyTools.com, they also have a translation or a version of the Webster's Bible translation. And for example, let's just have a quick look at Genesis chapter 1. So here in Genesis chapter 1, we see that it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. God saw the light, and it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. God called the light day, the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. There you have it. That is the Noah Webster's Bible translation, where he took the King James Bible, took out a lot of the old antique words that at the time were not relevant, especially to children in schools, that they could not understand what they were, changed some of the grammar, and as you can see, it made King James very readable, flowed along quite smoothly, and it was a real blessing to the people at the time. It's interesting, nobody seems to have taken the Webster's Bible and actually improved upon it or done further translations or modifications to it, because it seems to read quite well. That's as far as what I know about the Webster's Bible. It wasn't trying to make a doctrinally different Bible to suit a particular denomination or Presbyterian or the Church of England or anything. He was just trying to modify the King James Bible to make it more readable to the children within the schools and to the ordinary people in the colony at the time in America. I hope you enjoyed this short video looking at the Webster's Bible translation. Check out his dictionary as well. You can go online and check out the original 1826 Webster's Dictionary. And until next time, so please like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, God bless.